Warrior show. We're a one-man down, but that's okay. We've got the regulars here, Chris and Tim and myself, Andy. And boy, we have a lot to talk about. We've got the derby coming up, which is very exciting. But before we get there, we're going to talk about the most thing that was talked about, I would say, the last few days. What was it? Project Big Picture.
Big Picture.
Yeah.
Project Big Picture. That's right.
Yes. Now, Tim, you've got the details of this?
Very, very interesting little thing that apparently is being worked on behind the scenes for 3 years by Man United, Liverpool, and the head of the EFL. It's basically a plutocracy. I mean, how they ever thought they were going to get this off the ground is beyond me. So there were in their head there would be the Premier League would go to 18 teams, and 2 would get relegated each season, 2 would come up. Basically, I think the sticking point was the biggest thing that I took from it was they were basically going to give the controlling votes of any action. So, for an example, to bring in Project Big Picture, 14 of the 20 Premier League clubs would have had to have agreed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what Project Big Picture was going to do was basically hand that voting power over to the 9 longest serving clubs in the Premier League, which happen to be your standard Big Six, plus West Ham, Southampton and Everton. Basically, those 9 clubs would have had the voting power over, so it wouldn't matter what any other clubs in the other 9 clubs thought, and 6 of the 9 would have had to have agreed for a vote for it to pass. But they were talking about voting on things like the ownership, like voting on owners of a club. So, you know, like when Newcastle nearly had that takeover, you can imagine the guys, what's a guy who owns City again? What's he called? Bin Sahur or whatever.
Sheikh Mansour.
Yeah, that fella and the guy at Chelsea, his name's failing me. The Russian Abramovich. You can imagine those 2 are not going to vote yes, are they? So all they need to do is get 2 other clubs to join them. The Woodwards aren't going to do it because they want to keep all their money. Same with Kroenke over at Arsenal. You know, they don't really pump a lot of money into the club. It's all about profit for them.
Yeah.
So it was really just, to me, it just looked like a case of the rich get richer. And it was just giving all the power to the established Big Six plus 3 other clubs to make it look like it's not really all about the Big Six. So it was a bit of garbage. And obviously Everton were never really, looped in on it. They weren't looped in on what was happening because Denise Barrett-Baxendale came out and asked Liverpool and Manchester United for an apology for even suggesting something so ridiculous. So, I mean, yeah, how they ever thought that was going to get off the ground, I have no idea. It was almost like a bit of a carrot and a stick where they said, but if it goes through, we're going to pay out a balloon payment of $250 million across the 3 EFL leagues. Which obviously, you know, all teams are struggling at the moment without crowds, but you can imagine the lower league teams are struggling even more. So, yeah, it was just a little bit ridiculous, really. I don't know how they ever thought it was going to get off the ground. I mean, luckily, 20 clubs voted unanimously against it. So it's definitely not going to take off. But, yeah, did you read any more into it, Chris?
In all honesty, I think the 2 clubs that were pushing for it the most are both American-owned, which are used to the franchise model, you know, for your franchise, it's not about a club, it's more about your franchise. So, you know, both of those teams that we're red, American owned, they care about themselves only. Basically what they wanted to do was hand out a big lump of cash to the lower league teams now, being like, hey guys, we're being really, really nice to you. That's fine. Here's a bit of money to help you survive. But later on, when the Premier League kicks back off, they then can vote to take more of the share. So it was basically them trying to get a bigger piece of the pie in the long run, rather than spreading the pie out for the long run. Because that's, in all honesty, that's probably what's going to be needed for five or so years for us to get through COVID and get back to a real world, you know, where every team can play every home game and away games and so on. So, in my opinion, some of the things in the actual project big picture were good. You know, the balloon payments down, I think, are needed. Yeah. I think, you know, the Premier League makes a lot of money. The EFL makes quite a bit of money, but then, you know, your League One, your League Two, they don't make a lot. You know, they're not really broadcast on TV anywhere other than for their supporters. I know most of them are now subscription based to watch, which it used to be on, on BN Sports here, but it's not anymore. So, they need some money to survive without crowds because they're not getting that TV revenue. So there's some merit in that, but giving controlling votes to teams or clubs that have owners that really aren't thinking about anybody other than themselves is just not on, and it's never going to get through. The staple clubs, the clubs that have been around for 100 years, that are fan based, your Evertons, your Aston Villas, your West Hams, your Southamptons, your Leicesters, they're never going to let this happen. They've got boards and chairmen that actually understand that without the lower leagues, the Premier League is nothing. These same owners are the ones that pushed for the later kickoff, so it obviously lined up a little bit better with the US market. Obviously, with COVID happening, they've allowed that to go through this year, which is okay because there's fans not there. But when fans are back, an 8 o'clock or an 8:30 kickoff is just ridiculous at night for them. It would mean that an away fan would be leaving the stadium at 11 p.m. to then get on a coach and head home. It turns it off for a lot of people. So overall, to be honest, I think it was just two clubs that think they're bigger than everyone and better than everyone, trying to get more money in the long run and trying to push it away as a sneaky way. Hey, we'll give you some money now, but later on we're going to take more. And it didn't slide, and it's been good that obviously we've come out straight away said we're not a part of this. It's even been condemned by Man City have come out and said, come on guys, there's got to be a better way to do it. So kudos to the teams that aren't a part of it, but something definitely needs to change. Wanting to cut the Carabao Cup and things like that, I think there's other ways to do it. You can Carabao Cup can be up to the round of 16. The lower ranked team gets the home game. So those lower, EFL, League One, League Two teams, they're always going to play a home game against your Premier League team, where their fans are going to rock up, so they get the gate taking from that. Where we might not. We of course we need it, but we don't need it as much as them. Things like that, have been thrown around for a while, and I think we just need to. COVID just needs to sort itself out, and we need to know when are we actually going to be able to get crowds back, and then from there they can work out the money, because we don't want any more clubs falling over. We don't want any situations that's happened for a couple of teams now. So but something does need to happen. Obviously we're not involved enough to be able to push something through, but
what doesn't need to happen is a big picture dreamt up by the two red teams that really only helps them.
Exactly.
So, exactly right. So
luckily it was unanimously voted down, so jog on.
Yeah. No, that's good that it got abolished.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, shall we move on to the international break results?
Yeah, I'll run with this. So obviously been a busy 10 days for international football, especially our players. Majority of our squad was away with playing internationals, either senior or under 21. So really good to see. Obviously off the top, DCL first start for England, gets a goal. Just while we're on that, Jack Grealish is probably the hottest player on the planet right now. The kid cannot do anything wrong. That ball into DCL was once again world class. So hopefully by the time we play Villa, he's calmed down a little bit, because he's But DCL, great game, first up, great goal. Really, really good to see, the pride of him in the shirt. I saw a Facebook post from his parents, his dad.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Which was really, nice. Really good. Yeah. And then also saw
what a big week for him. His first start, his first international goal, PFA Player of the Month. What a week for DCL, and well deserved.
Yeah, exactly right. So I saw a piece on him as well. They interviewed him after that goal and asked him, what was it like, and he basically kept saying it's amazing, but I would have preferred some fans there to a bit more of a celebration and that. So kudos to him. So he had a really good. He was involved in all 3 games. Started 2 and just come off the bench this morning for 18 minutes. If people haven't seen that, Harry Maguire is a disaster. So go and watch that. It's about 5 minutes of.
I'll have to check that out.
Crazy.
I haven't seen it. I saw he got red carded, but I haven't seen it.
He's lost the plot. But
Okay.
so the DCL was good. Luca Dean played 2 full games, or nearly a full game for France. Absolute quality ball for an assist for Mbappe last night. 2 minutes later, he limped off injured with what looked like a knee injury. Just seen breaking news in the WhatsApp group, and then I've followed it up that he's come out and he said he's all good. It was, he'll be fine for the derby. So that's real.
Fantastic.
Real positive.
Thank goodness. Yeah,
exactly right. James or James and Mina, both of them went away and played a couple of games. James was just quality the whole time. A couple of the guys watched some of those games on Saturday.
It was great.
Good. Mina only played one of the games.
That horrible injury in that game.
Oh yeah, the injury.
Santiago Arias, who, as I mentioned in the WhatsApp group, was linked to us quite heavily in the off season to come across as a right back. So I know it's unfortunate for him, but gee, we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
That was a shocking injury.
Oh, horrid. Mina actually got injured, and he never played the second game for them with a thigh injury. They're saying it's more precaution, but the long flight back, they're not getting back until late Thursday their time. So he's probably touch and go for the derby, but we can touch on that. One of the most pleasing thing out of the international games was to see Gylfi Sigurdsson back scoring goals on the world stage for Iceland. So he scored a couple in their first game, and then he actually never played today. They rested him, so quality. So I actually wouldn't be surprised. I know Gomez, and we can talk about this, but I think Gylfi's going to play a fair role in the derby.
And let's not forget as well with Gylfi, that story came out probably about a month ago now, which I don't think we mentioned on this show before, about what was it, his brother-in-law or something that shot himself.
Killed himself, yeah.
So this fella's been going through sort of a tremendous personal loss, personal tragedy, and he's still rocking up and giving 100%. So not only for country but club as well. Even though it would be pretty easy for him to crack the sads and not to with the players that are in front of him now. So good on him.
He actually came out. There was an article during the week where him and his manager were offered. The clubs come to him and said, we'll take you, and he rejected them all. He said, no, I want to stay and fight. I think I'm good enough. And I know we've all had a crack at him, and he's played poor at times. We all know the quality that he is. So hopefully, Gomez and Decore and Allen, in those positions, gives him that little push to get back to some form. And I can tell you what, Sigurdsson's starting for us, or even coming off the bench for 20 minutes, he's going to score some worldies, and he's going to solidify wins and score goals to put results beyond doubt. So he has a big part to play this season. And Gomez obviously has been injured here and there, so Gylfi's going to play his fair share. So good to see him scoring again. Richarlison was brilliant again for Brazil. Another goal, keeps on firing. Really, really good. You can tell he works. He loves football so much.
I do love that he basically stole that goal from Firmino too. It really didn't need a touch to get that over the line, but Richie took that touch. How good do you reckon their relationship is?
Well, put one over him, and he's going to put another one over him on Saturday night. So it was good. Iwobi played 90 minutes for Nigeria in a draw overnight, so that was good. Tom Davies played for the 21s and scored in the first game for them, never played in the second. Godfrey played, obviously our new player Godfrey played centre back for the 21s, and I tell you what, if anyone hasn't seen him, he has got some wheels on him. He is very, very quick, and I think it might take him a few games, but I could see him being him, and in the long run, probably him and Holgate together are going to be the two centre backs. I think with King possibly being the third, and it might put a lot of pressure on Mina, but it also adds an element because he can play on the right. So very, 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 very good signing again from Brands. He's young, super quick, and he's hungry. So really exciting to see him. Other one was Olsen, obviously the new keeper we signed. He played overnight in the only game he played, and three of them were past him. Basically, the only thing he did was pick the three out of the back of the net. Other than that, didn't really do much. So, and Nkunku played 21s as well for France, and there was a few others. But majority of our players come through the internationals unscathed, which is the main thing.
Yeah. I think especially Gordon got 90 minutes in the under 21s as well, didn't he?
I don't know if it was the 21s or if it was the unders again. I actually never popped up. So it's.
I just know because I saw something on Instagram where he cut in from the left and had one of those shots that was curling towards the top corner and it just went over and
But the main thing is, we got more games into Gylfi. Richarlison's recovered from his injury. James has come back injury free. Godfrey's got some minutes into him after obviously just signing. More minutes into Iwobi, which is good, and he played quite well. So, our players are getting constant minutes. Hopefully Luca Dean is good to start in the derby. If not, obviously Nkunku is there, which I think I'm okay with him potentially being there. DCL got his goal, which keeps that roll running. So, I know the international break probably come at a bad time for us because we had been winning, but our players have continued on in that the good vein of form. So hopefully everyone's back at Finch Farm. We can watch the Everton in training YouTube that'll come out tomorrow. Listen for Carlo's press conference and hopefully clean bill of health, and we're on to the derby.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks for that, Chris and Tim. And with that, we're going into halftime. We'll be back. Hey, and we are back from halftime, and here it is. We're talking derby, the derby, this weekend, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time here in good old Melbourne, Victoria. And I'll start off with my sort of thoughts and previews of it. This is probably. I know we've all been hurt and burnt before by I think there was one season with it might have been Martin's first season where we were it was that crazy 3-3 draw game at Goodison, and I think we're on a winning streak of maybe 6 or 4 or something, and we had Lukaku and we're just all fired up like, oh my god, this is we're gonna smash them and stuff, and then we all know how that ended. So I just feel like this is so different now, though. We're on top of the league. Our players are just performing so well, especially the new signings. And even when some of the signings have been out, like Allen and and even squad regulars like Gomez were taken out of the team. Their replacements come in and they perform. And we saw that with the Brighton game. Like, Davis was great. Sigurdsson was great. So, it can happen. And it really shows that these guys are really performing. So, I really feel like that there's more belief in this team. And also how the mentality is at the moment. It's so positive. And like you mentioned before, Chris, even on international break, a lot of our players had victories. So that positivity is just they're bringing that back. So it's just all good. Lineup. Oh gosh. well, depending, like me, I think Mina will definitely be out. So I think Godfrey will definitely come in. I know that could be a risk, but I just feel like the timing's right, and we need the cover, I guess. Yeah, and midfield, I have a feeling he'll put Sigerson in before Gomez. So you'll have James, Sigerson, and Decore. And Alan's back.
And don't forget Alan.
Yeah. So, and we got Alan back. So yeah, it's gonna be really I think pretty much the same team. Yeah, you'll take Davis out. So probably the same team that faced
Brighton.
Crystal Palace, maybe. Because I think Sigerson was in that one. No, wait, Gomez was. I think probably
Palace. Brighton, you're thinking.
I'm thinking of Brighton. Yeah. So you'll just take Davis out and put Allen in, basically. And Mina. So you'll take Davis and Mina out and put Godfrey and Allen. Yeah.
Allen, yeah.
So that would be my thoughts on that. And prediction wise, I really hope we smash them. Like, I'm thinking 4-1.
Love it.
Tim,
love it.
Over to you.
Look, as you mentioned, Andy, we've all been bitten by this fixture so many times before. I mean, the one that really rings always in my head was when we had, Sam Allardyce. And we can only mention his name one more time during this show, guys, because if we mention it a third time, he will appear.
Yeah.
So only one more name of he shall not be mentioned. And Liverpool basically played all their kids because I think they had a big FA Cup or European match coming up, and we had such a chance to beat them, and we didn't go for it because Allardyce was our manager. That one burns. Look, part of me was a little bit disappointed, to be completely honest, when I found out that Mane and Thiago would be back for this game, despite their, the fact that they tested positive for Corona. But then when I really think about it, this game's a really good opportunity to show us where we're really at. We've had a great start to the season, but Tottenham, to be fair to, and all due respect to the teams that we've played both in the Premier League and the Carabao Cup, Tottenham's really the only tough game that we've had, if you know what I mean.
True. Yeah. And look at them now.
This is a really good opportunity. Yeah, exactly. And this is a really good opportunity for us to see where this team is really at, going up against last season's, Premier League winners, with a full squad, with our full squad, touch wood, hopefully Dinya's in there. It's full squad against full squad. Obviously, they're missing Allison. So, I guess Adrian and Pickford kind of level each other out then in terms of possible mistakes. But I think it's just a really good opportunity to test ourselves against the league, the guys who won the league. They're also going to come out with a massive, a bit of sting in their tail, I think, after that humiliating defeat to Villa.
Definitely.
That's right. What was the score again?
7-2. 7-2. So just, if there are any Reds watching, 7-2. Also, get off our show. But I mean, you'd have to think there's going to be a response to that. But then again, in a lot of ways, as we're saying, the international break kind of came at a bad time for us in terms of momentum. Possibly the same for Liverpool in terms of responding to that humiliating defeat. Tactically, the teams that were able to sort of beat them last season did so by basically playing with a back three. And you had your two outside central defenders covering Mane and Salah, and your wing backs just followed their fullbacks, because that's how they play, basically. The fullbacks get so far forward. And that's the reason why they bought this Thiago, because he's, if you look at the middle of their midfield, you've got guys like Milner, Henderson, Fabinho going through there, Wijnaldum. None of them are real playmakers. They're workmanlike, they're industrious. All the play comes from their wide forwards and their wide players. So now they've got Alcantara, so that if teams do sit back, do cut off the source of their play, the wide side now, they do have that playmaker in central midfield. So it's interesting. One of the things I did note against Villa was they played a ridiculously high line.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who's a Liverpool supporter commented on it as well. Well, friend. And said, look, I don't know why we went to such a high line when we didn't do that at all last season, and it worked for us. And yeah, there's a lot of subplots in this game as well. Obviously, you know, Richarlison with his little 7-2 picture after they got beaten. Not to mention last time he's crack at Van Dijk in the previous derby.
That's right.
So I'm sure that's not been forgotten. Yeah, look, it's. I think the lineup will be pretty much unchanged from, you know, as I've said in many shows before, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I tend to agree basically with the same lineup that you've suggested, Andy. I actually think it's a good opportunity for Godfrey to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bit of a baptism of fire, but it's not like he's foreign to the Premier League. And I think his pace is going to be really important against the quick front three of Liverpool. So yeah, score-wise, look, I know we've seen some big scores already this season. And we've seen, obviously, you know, we won, what was it, 4-2 against Brighton. What feels like a lifetime ago.
5-2, yeah.
It was only 2 weeks. Yeah. And then they obviously lost 7-2 to Villa. And there's been, you know, some massive score lines. But I actually think this one's going to be a bit tighter. I think both teams are going to be a bit tentative because I think neither team really wants to get battered.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's going to be quite low scoring. I'd say 2-1 to Everton. With a late worldie from James to seal the deal.
Yeah, need that highlight reel.
That's it. What do you reckon, Chris?
I'm excited. You know, I'm normally Derby. I'm nervous. I've got a few mates that are unfortunately Reds, and they rip me all week because they're always above us on the table. It's always around, you know, when they're playing good and we're playing bad and the like. So the nervous tension that I normally would have is not there at the moment. You know, I think we're going into this, and I know we're not favourites on paper or with the bookies, but we should be favourites. You know, we're top of the league. We've won every game we've played. They've just been battered 7-2 to Villa, who should have got relegated last season. You know, we've only beaten pretty average sides. You know, Brighton do play good football, but we've beaten Tottenham, who are around our mark. So this Saturday is the day for us to show exactly what we are this season. Exactly. If we want to do anything this season and be taken seriously, we go out and we beat Liverpool at home and show the football world and the Premier League that we're not just here to make up numbers and it's not a flash in the pan that we're undefeated, that we are actually going to be near the top of the league for the rest of the season. And if you're going to play us, you're going to get a really good side and you're going to have to work really hard to beat us. I think the international break came at a poor time because we're informed they got flogged. I would have liked to have played them last week, and I think we would have destroyed them. But you know, I want to beat them, and I want to beat them with all their players. I don't want their fans to say, "Oh, we didn't have Mane, we didn't have this, we didn't have that." Play them all. We'll play all ours, and we're going to go out and we're going to knock them off, and everybody's going to go, "Wow." It's Everton are the real deal. You know, Carlo Ancelotti's got that team as the real deal. I think team-wise, you know, to be honest, he's going to put the best team out he can. If Mina's not 100% fit, he won't play. Godfrey's in. You know, I think it's probably 2 or 3 of the last couple of derbies we've started a young lad for their debut. You know, we've done it a few times. I think we gave Pennington a start last year, his first start in a derby. So throw him in, you know, throw Godfrey in. He's going to want to make a name for himself at Everton. And, you know, he'll make a name for himself when he keeps Firmino quiet. You know, Firmino's not the best forward in the world anyway, but he always grows a leg when he plays against us. Godfrey can make a name for himself very, very quickly with the fans by putting Firmino nowhere near the game. I think all our players, most of them are in form. I actually think Gylfi Sigurdsson's going to start over Gomez. You know, two goals in the week, and I think he just is a little bit more creative than Gomez, and I think that may release James a little bit because their midfielders, especially Henderson or Milner, will be worrying a little bit more about Gylfi and James. You know, if Gomez plays, you know, Gomez isn't known for scoring that worldie or scoring from outside the box, you know, shoot on sight. Gylfi is. So that might free up James a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Gylfi play. Obviously, there's an injury cloud over Luca Dean, who come off yesterday late for France. you know, the way Nkunku has started, I'm actually not too upset if Luka Dean missed. Obviously, I'd prefer Luka Dean there. He is the better player. But I think Nkunku can play in that position and to debut in the Premier League again. What a day! I think he can play that well.
I just worry though that that's a we were talking about Godfrey having a baptism of fire. He's a little older than Nkunku. He's got first team Premier League experience, and no question Nkunku's performed brilliantly in the games he's played thus far. But that's a real baptism of fire for an 18-year-old French kid to step into the heat of a derby. And let's say he does put a foot wrong, he's going to need to have a real strong mentality to bounce back from that.
Yeah,
that concerns me a little.
I get what you're saying, but he's also got Carlo Ancelotti there that'll put his arm around him and say, son, you've played so well in the cup games. You've deserved your go here. I reckon he'll also get players like Luka Dean will put his arm around him and say,
exactly.
Mate, you've got this.
Yeah, you got this.
You've got this. So I think, I'm confident that he's got it in you. We've all seen he can play. Okay, obviously it's against lower league, but I think the kid's got something, and I wouldn't be surprised if Luka Dean's not 100, he doesn't play, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Good to see that Coleman is back. Would have been a little worried if Coleman didn't play, as obviously we don't have Kenny to cover there, and that could have meant a bit of a reshuffle with the likes of Delph being mentioned there. So hopefully that's not the case. I'm really excited. I never go into a derby thinking we're going to win because it's a derby and anything can happen. However, I think that this is Everton's time, right? We've started off better than we could all expect. Liverpool have dropped points, and it's our turn to show everybody that we're not here to muck about. We know this isn't a flash in the pan. We're going to be seriously near the top this season. And, we beat them. We go out and beat them. It'll get harder for us in the weeks to come because everyone will go, okay, they can play and they can beat the better teams. We're going to have to put a bit more time into them that we wouldn't. So for us to go anywhere, we win this game. I think this goes a long way with our players' confidences. And I think the mentality shift that we've already seen from game one through all the games is what wins us this game. If we score early with James and Richarlison, DCL involved that have been so prevalent already this season, Liverpool players are going to sit there and stand there and go, they've seen the way that we've been able to score at will at times. I think we score early and that's it. They fall to water. And, I know there's been some really high scores so far, but I could honestly see us putting 3 or 4 past them without reply.
Yeah.
I think they're nowhere near the team they were last year. I'm not going to call it a hangover, but I have watched their games and they're not that great. I think they think they can rock up and beat teams. It's not like that anymore. Teams have worked them out. Their really high line against Villa was just stupid, to be honest. And they let Grealish do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
He's a very, very good footballer, Grealish, but he made them look silly at times. Ross Barkley made them look silly. Ross Barkley. So if these lads can make them, especially Van Dijk, he had a shocker. If Ross Barkley and Grealish can make them look silly, James and Sigurdsson and Allen are going to make them look silly. For me, I'm just very excited. I'm optimistic now, and I think we beat them, and our goals change. It's not about top 6; it's then about top 4. So we win this game. I think we win it 3-0. I think we give ourselves a gap at the top, and everybody starts taking us seriously, and we actually get some of the kudos that we deserve. And some of the pundits over there pull their heads out and go, okay, Everton are the real deal. Carlo Ancelotti is the real deal. We were wrong about James being slow and not good for the Premier League. We were wrong about Allen not going to be able to get up to standard. We were certainly wrong about them paying $50 million for Richarlison because he is an absolute jet.
Mm.
And we were wrong about DCL doing anything other than being a championship player. I think this is our time to prove everybody wrong and get the 3 points, And now that I've said all that, we probably go and lose 1 or 2-0. And
oh, come on, man. Keep the positivity going.
I mean,
But,
it is funny.
This is new Everton.
As Andy mentioned, that's right. As Andy mentioned, it's new Everton. The mentality of the squad does seem a lot different. And, the other thing Andy mentioned, which, we've all been bitten by this fixture before, it kind of reminds me of, a girl that I know that, I probably re-bump into her around as often as this fixture occurs. And every time I think it's going to be different, and every time it turns out the same way, which is a loss, right? So I honestly don't know. In those terms, I honestly don't know what would happen if we won. I honestly don't know how I would feel.
I don't think I'll be sleeping. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I don't know what I would do. Like,
I will probably I'll make a Zoom meeting and just go, everyone just jump in. We're all just going to go nuts.
Yeah, everyone has to have a bottle of Patron on hand. And
I've got that. That's the most disappointing part about this. Obviously for everyone watching, we're still locked down in Melbourne. It's now week 362, and look, we still haven't had haircuts. We all look, well, it doesn't really matter for Tim, but
I've had my haircut.
Locked down, and we know what everyone around the world's going through, and we would have all watched this game together. It would have been a big one for us. If we win, we would have been able to win together. If we lose, we would have been able to lose together.
But hopefully by the derby in 2028, we'll actually be allowed back in pubs, so it'll be fine.
There you go. 2028.
No, it's exciting, and I think the optimism rightly should be there. We should all be up, and we're all going to be up for it anyway. It's a derby. No matter how bad we're playing, we're always up for it. I just think that mentality shift that we all mentioned and been mentioning since the beginning of the season is what wins us this game. And we win this, it's time to start dreaming. In my opinion.
And I think that's the thing that you mentioned. We do always get up for this game, and I think as supporters, even if we're in relegation zone and Liverpool's top of the table, we still think that we can win this game.
That's right.
And I think this time though, and it sounds like that that girl thing, like that girl analogy. This time it feels different. This time it's going to be different, but it really does, and it's really hard to explain that to people who don't get it. Us three get it. You know what I mean? I'm sure. Every toffee around the world gets it. It does feel different this time. It really does. And I mean, look, all right, I'm going to make a bold prediction. If Everton win this game, I will get a tattoo of the bell tower.
Done.
All right. There you go. There you go, everyone. You've heard it. And with that, we will wrap things up. You can find us on our socials, all the one social now at Toffees Victoria. So we got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So check those out. Thanks guys. Thanks Chris. Thanks Tim. And the derby this weekend. Come on, you Blues.
Come on, you Blues. Come on. Get excited, boys. Woo!